there seems to be something involving this girl, and there's an elevated level of physicality that obviously compromised her availability last season where she missed a few games. There is a palpable resentment towards this girl where you have people who are resenting of her star power and her cachet. And as a result, if they have an opportunity to go at her, they're going to take it. Now, Caitlin Clark is no innocent bystander in all.
It needs to be said. I can relate to that young lady, and I felt for her.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it's like to be hated.
Mm.
I know what it's like to be a Black woman and hated because of my color.
Yeah.
In Caitlin's game that night against the Phoenix Mercury player Alyssa Thomas lodged her fist into Caitlin's neck in a play where no foul was called during the game.
She uses her body.
Have you ever witnessed a moment that fundamentally changes the course of sports history? A single fraction of a second where the mask falls off, the unwritten rules are shattered, and the dark underbelly of a professional league is exposed for the entire world to see. What happened to Caitlin Clark wasn't just a physical foul. It was a statement. It was a message delivered with brute force, an act of aggression that has sent shockwaves through the very foundation of the WNBA. The target was the most talented young athlete the game has seen in a generation, and the perpetrator was a seasoned veteran, Alyssa Thomas. But what no one expected was the eruption that followed. An eruption not just from the fans, but from basketball royalty. When you attack the future of the game, you awaken the ghosts of its past. And there is no ghost more powerful, no voice more commanding than that of basketball immortal Cheryl Miller. The legendary Hall of Famer didn't just comment on the incident, she absolutely dismantled the perpetrator. She ripped the curtain back on the jealousy, the resentment, and the cowardice that has been bubbling under the surface of the league. Cheryl Miller just dropped a nuclear bomb on the WNBA, and Alyssa Thomas is standing right at ground zero. Welcome to the controversy that is tearing the basketball world apart, dividing locker rooms, and forcing fans to pick a side in a war that has been brewing all season long. To truly grasp the gravity of this situation, we need to rewind the tape and look at exactly what happened on that court. The Indiana Fever were facing off against the Phoenix Mercury in a highly anticipated matchup. The cameras were rolling, the arena was packed, and millions were watching from home. In the heat of the game, Alyssa Thomas made a decision that crossed the line from competitive basketball into blatant physical assault. She lodged her fist and forearm directly into Caitlin Clark's neck. It wasn't a basketball play. It wasn't a contest for the ball. It was a blindside strike against a player who wasn't even looking, a player completely exposed to the impact. What makes the situation infinitely worse is the officiating. In a league that claims to prioritize player safety, the referees swallowed their whistles. No foul was called on the floor for the initial strike. The sheer audacity of the play, combined with the lack of immediate discipline, ignited a firestorm across social media. Fans were outraged, analysts were stunned, but the silence from the league's veterans was deafening. That is, until Cheryl Miller decided she had seen enough. When a legend of her magnitude speaks, the entire basketball universe stops to listen. To understand the magnitude of this nuclear call-out, you have to understand who Cheryl Miller is. She isn't a modern media talking head desperate for clicks. She is the blueprint. Before the multi-million-dollar television deals, she was the most dominant force on a basketball court. From 1982 to 1986, Miller faced a level of physical intimidation that would break most modern athletes. Opponents knew they couldn't match her alien basketball IQ or her sheer talent, so they tried to beat her into submission. they tried to physically destroy her night after night. Because of her history, Cheryl Miller knows exactly what it looks like when lesser players use violence to compensate for their lack of skill. So when she sat down and watched the footage of Alyssa Thomas going after Caitlin Clark, she didn't see tough championship-level defense. She saw a coward. Her words were sharp, deliberate, and utterly devastating. She stated publicly that it was one of the most cowardly acts she had witnessed on a basketball court in decades. Let that sink in. Decades. This isn't about setting hard screens or fighting for a loose ball in the paint. This is about a palpable resentment towards a rookie whose star power has eclipsed the entire league. When you are a true champion, you face your opponent head-on. You look them in the eye and you beat them with your skill, your preparation, and your dedication. You don't wait for them to turn their back. You don't launch a cheap shot when they are distracted. That is the exact distinction Cheryl Miller highlighted when breaking down the tape. Taking cheap shots at an exposed player isn't toughness. It's a desperate cry for relevance by a player who realizes she is being left behind by the rapid evolution of the game. Miller found Thomas's actions fundamentally repugnant, painting a vivid picture of a substandard player resorting to deeply unethical tactics. But what infuriated the basketball icon even more than the physical act itself was the pathetic aftermath. Instead of stepping up to the microphone, taking accountability, and expressing regret, Alyssa Thomas chose to play the victim. Thomas falsely claimed that the media and the fans were unfairly targeting her, uttering the classic defensive excuse, "Damned if I do, damned if I don't." This blatant lack of accountability was the ultimate trigger for Miller. Champions take responsibility. Legends own their mistakes. When you play the victim after being the clear aggressor, you reveal your true character to the world. Let's shift the focus to the target of this unprecedented and organized animosity. Caitlin Clark is not just a basketball player. She is a once-in-a-lifetime cultural phenomenon. She possesses a unique alchemy of skills that we simply haven't seen before. She has an exceptional basketball IQ, an unexplained ability to hit clutch shots from another area code, and a divine vision that instantly elevates every single teammate on the floor. She is currently carrying the entire weight of the WNBA's explosive economic growth on her 22-year-old shoulders. She is the undisputed, unchallenged face of the sport worldwide. Because of Caitlin Clark, millions of new eyes are tuning in. Arenas that were once half empty are now sold out to the rafters. Television ratings are driving numbers previously thought impossible, leading to historic charter flight deals and massive revenue spikes. Yet, instead of celebrating the rising tide that is lifting every single boat in the league, certain veteran players have chosen the dark path of bitter resentment. According to Cheryl Miller, Alyssa Thomas represents everything that is currently broken in this jealous veteran mindset. Instead of hitting the gym to match Clark's extraordinary skill level, they choose to drag the game into the gutter. Rather than outworking Clark through dedication and rigorous preparation, these players choose physical assault when the referees aren't looking. It is the lowest form of basketball competition. It creates a highly toxic environment that forces a generational talent to constantly watch her back for dirty tricks, instead of focusing on fulfilling her limitless potential. Cheryl Miller accurately compared this to the infamous Jordan rules of the late 1980s, where the bad boy Pistons tried to physically batter Michael Jordan because they couldn't stop him legally. But even the Pistons faced their opponents head-on, unlike the blindside tactics we are witnessing today. This brings us to a terrifying crossroads for the WNBA, a critical junction that Cheryl Miller outlined with chilling accuracy. If the league front office sits back and allows enforcers like Alyssa Thomas to continuously hunt superstars without facing severe, career-altering repercussions, they are sending a catastrophic message. They are telling every young, talented girl watching at home that elite skill and sportsmanship don't actually matter. They are creating a highly dangerous precedent where mediocre or aging players are given a green light to use violence to remain relevant in the headlines. Miller's warning to the WNBA executives is clear, loud, and uncompromising. You cannot build a global sports empire if you allow your crown jewel to be repeatedly tarnished. The league has exactly two options. They can either continue to turn a blind eye, allowing weaker, jealous players to harm the league's mainstream reputation through thuggish methods, or they can step up and protect their franchise players. If the WNBA fails to act decisively, they risk killing the golden goose that is finally bringing them the mainstream relevance they have chased for almost 3 decades. Sponsors are watching. Network executives are watching. You don't market a beautiful game by showcasing unpunished cheap shots. Cheryl Miller is fiercely protecting basketball's fundamental integrity from professional envy. But here is the most terrifying reality for Alyssa Thomas and anyone else currently plotting their next cheap shot. You aren't breaking Caitlin Clark. You are forging her in fire. Every single cheap shot, every shady blindside move, every pathetic attempt to intimidate her only adds high-octane fuel to an already uncontrollable inferno of competitive drive. These attacks are making Caitlin Clark more determined, more focused, and more ruthless in her singular pursuit of absolute superiority. She doesn't complain to the media. She doesn't throw cheap shots back. She just keeps showing up every single night, hitting threes from the logo. Will the WNBA finally listen to a respected, immortal legend like Cheryl Miller and take concrete steps to protect its biggest star? Or will the petty resentment, the deep-seated jealousy, and the dangerous cheap shots continue to cast a dark shadow over this unprecedented era of massive growth? Now, I want to hear directly from you. Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below right now. Is Cheryl Miller entirely justified in her harsh criticism of Alyssa Thomas? Or is she being too critical? Let us know. Hit that subscribe button right now, smash the like button, and enable all notifications. We will see you in the next video.